Hi, in this session I'm going to tell you how to make a health bar and a sprint bar. The sprint bar is for example, when you run too fast, the player gets tired and you have to wait until it is regenerated. So for making the health bar, I made an avatar and a border for the health bar and also the field bar. And we can also use that for the sprint bar or mono bar. So I give it a white color so later we can change that color. So I drag and drop them here and I make them the Sprite 2D or UI. And now it was in our canvas, was the panels. Let's go there and make a panel on top of here. So I call it UI panel. And I say, for example, health panel. It's better that I give the panel name at first. So and I dock that to this. So here it is. And now um, click on that and go to UI, image, and call it border. And for the border, give this one, set native size, and do not work with this on individual UI things. If you want to scale that, use this one. Okay, we have this. And now make another image or just an empty game object. And you see the borders here. You see the white things there. So try to fix that with this and make it as large as this border. Do you see this white line? So let me actually I just want it to be a little bit less than this size. So this, and I give it this width and I shrink it so it would be this size. And okay, and I call it health bar, and I duplicate that, and I call it field bar. Okay, now we have the health bar. Put the border and fill here, and for the fill, add the image, and give this fill a sprite, and we're done. Oh, we're not done. Add a slider here. No, no, no. Um, and give the fill. Oh, I'm sorry. I just need to go there, the fill, and make it a stretch. And now this is working. I just need to change the color for the fill and make it red. Okay, I have this, and I can add for the sprint and monobar. The codes are the same. And for the monobar, I told it in the 2D course. So let's say for the sprint bar, so the player cannot just run uh, without any conditions. So, okay, here we have this, and I move it down. And I make it a little bit smaller. And I change the field to something like red. And you can add the monobar as well, but the code is the same, so I don't waste time to do that. And we also have the avatar here. So let me go here, UI image, and I give this image to that, set native size, and I duck that to the left. This is a small 800. Move them here. Go to panel health and just remove that. Okay, we're done with it. Now we need to give it a code. Player, and we have no. I call it player stats or health. I just okay here. We need to get this bar. Now we're working with the health bar. We need to get that. We need to assign the maximum value to this one. Um, yes, you can put the field to the back. Okay. As I was saying, this value 1 equals to max value. For example, if it's 2000 health, it means that this is equal to 1 in this slider value. And this is current value. And if it becomes 0, the player dies. So now let's get that. So I say serialized fill, private, sliders, slider. And right click, quick solution, and UI because you need to do that. And I call this health slider. And let me say serialized fill, private int max health, which 100 is good. And and I say public because we in other codes I know that we will use that. So I say public. And for example, I say current health, and in the start, the current health is equal to max health. And before that, we have to say slider, that's max value. Oh, this health is slider, I'm sorry, health. Slider, that's max value equals to that. And a slider, that value, something that would later be changed. I said, okay, that value would be the current health. And I also have the public pool is alive. At first, yes, it's true. Because in other codes, we want to say, okay, if the player is dead, then, for example, do not move, do not shoot. Okay, here it is. And also, we have a damage. So the other enemies can inflict damage to that. So say public void and take damage. And I say int dmg. And here I say current health minus equal to damage, and we need to update the slider. Okay, so we can say that, and we check here if current health value is, say, more than 0. It was not okay. For example, play hurt anime. For example, yes, play the hurt animation or hurt sound. Else, it has to die, and it goes to death function. And in the death functions, I say private void death. Okay, at first you say if is alive. If it is not alive, then do not execute the rest of the code and just die. And when it dies, here, when it is dead, then is alive is false. So again, when this function wants to happen, okay, you say no, it is not, it is false, so it returns because it is dead. And I want to make sure that the current health value is equal to 0, and then we again update the slider. And when it dies, we can say, okay, game over. But now we say just debug.log. The player died or dead. Okay, now go to your player, and where is that player? And assign the code that we have written, the player health, and also give the health bar that has a slider. And then in order to make sure that it works, I say, no, not debug.log. I say if input dot get key down, you could space so I can use, I say -10. If I say debug.log, show me the current health, you see that the value goes to minus. Yes, if it gets to 0, it dies and it does nothing, and no other enemies can affect on us. But it is better that we always make sure that things work correctly. So here, instead of this, I can say current health is equal to mapf, that's max. Okay, up to which value it can decrease. I say this and to 0. And it wouldn't go below the 0. So I delete that. I'm sorry, not equal. And we can just simplify that to, if it is less or equal to 0, just do that. So I should say take damage, for example, 10, and then show the current value. So let me save that and go and check the game. So you see it never goes below 0. So this works, and we don't need that. And now let's go and work on the sprint bar. I can put it here, but doesn't have meaning, So let me make another code. And I say player sprint bar. Here is very similar to the health bar, also for the sprint. So I put it here, and instead I say sprint. And here I say, we have another thing that is can sprint. It means that does it have enough amount to do the sprint or not? So I say can sprint. And the condition depends. We have something like this, and it means that when the current sprint is more than zero, then this is true and it can sprint. And if this is zero or less than that, then it cannot sprint. So it's good that to be familiar with also this. And now let's write a function that is public. What is that? Public void. And I say use a sprint. And we have a float delta time because later we want that the player to be able to um, sprint and decrease that according to time. Here I say if current sprint is, I'm sorry, more than zero, then it's allowed to consume that, and I say current sprint minus equal to, um, we need to have it, it's better that we have a drain rate, which is kind of a float sprint. Okay, that would be also multiplied by time. So I say private float drain rate, and we assume that it is, make it 10F. I'll make it a serialized field, so later we would change that. So here I say drain rate, I'm sorry, in delta time. What? Okay, when we use, because they are floats, let me go there and make them floats. Okay. So now we have this, and I want to make sure that it would be at least zero, and at most it would be the max value. So I say current sprint would be equal to, I use method that's clamp. No, just clamp. And current sprint, yes, don't go below zero, and have your maximum value. And we also need to update the slider. So I say sprint slider, sprint slider, that's value equal to, no, current sprint. Something like that. And also I want to imagine that this slider goes to zero, so it has to kind of regenerate. So we can fast run again. So you say public void, and regenerate sprint float delta time, and I add a value here, serialized field, private float, reg value would be 10. And here I say if the current sprint is less than the max sprint, it means that okay, I've consumed that. I have used this button. Otherwise, um, it should not be called. Okay, current sprint would be um, sprint. What's the name? All right, value in delta time. I also need to update the slider. So what was the slider? That's value would be current sprint. And we want that from the player movements that would be called. Let's go player movements and bring in the code private player sprints. Sprint bar, yes. And I say sprint bar sprint. Did I say correct? Okay. It's equal to yes, get components sprint bar. And here, okay, you see it's running fast, so kind of sprinting. We have to use that. Else it goes to return to normal speed, and we just allow that it will be regenerated. For simplicity, I just say float is equal to normal speed. So we don't need that. We just say multiply by this and we remove this because this would be this. And here we say sprints bar dot use sprints. Okay, as we had here, so I say time, that's delta time. Okay, it can move fast. And when it doesn't have any, oh, here I say also, and sprint bar that can sprint, and then if it is, uh, where is that? Yes, if it is more than 0, then you are allowed to sprint. Otherwise, you have to use this to regenerate. And I say sprint bar dot regenerate the sprint time dot delta time. We give the code player sprints to this. And also the slider, which was this one. And let's go. So I run normally and nothing happens. And now I press shift and I can run. Wow, what a huge breath he has. That's too much. And now he cannot run. Or he just regenerating. This and it returns to normal. It is somehow between that. It wants to sprint, but it can't, and it returns to normal. And it is regenerated and you want to sprint, it can't, it's somehow stuck here. To solve that problem, we can have a cooldown. So go here if it is more than that. Else, I need to add a boolean. Say private bool can sprint again at, I don't give anything. Else can sprint again. What is it that? What? Ah, can sprint again would be false. And here we say that only if this is true, it can do that. Can sprint again is true. So at first, yes, it is true. And here we say I enumerator, restore can sprint again. And I say yield return new wait for seconds. For example, after 1 second, it can sprint again after it has been 0. So do we have enough mana, enough of this sprint value, so it wouldn't bring that awkward movement. And I say can sprint again to become true. I here says start quarantine. There are different ways that you can handle that, but this is the simplest one. Or we can say, let's delete them and just if current sprint less or equal to 0 and can sprint again uh, so that's better. And now we have to go there and also add that condition to here. So let's make it like a property. So I can check if this condition is true and also um, can sprint again is true. So I put both of these conditions into one. So here I delete that and make this. Say get. Okay, this should be more than that, and should be can sprint again. Can sprint again. Put it here, and also say return. So you check these two conditions, and you have to return to this, and then you have both of the condition in one. And let's go to player movement. And here, yes, it will restore. And also when it is idle, it should also restores. So you sprint. So after it is considerably more, it can run again. And it can both in a slow run, and also when it is idle, it is generated. Okay, so I think we're done with this part. And the monobar is kind of like that, but instead of um, using in the player movement, you use that in the player attack, okay, on the spell. If you have enough mana, then we can shoot that, otherwise we can't. So they are very similar. And for the monobar, I told it in the 2D course, just as the same, but here I just use the sprint bar, so that would be something new with a little bit of difference.